Opportunities from a sectoral perspective will come from new products that enable a low-carbon future, such as critical minerals, hydrogen, electric cars and buses, battery technology, renewable energy, low-carbon building products, small modular reactors, and other clean technologies. And regionally, each province has a relatively unique mix of its own natural resources, so the economic opportunities available to them, and therefore the approaches to a clean energy transition, will be different across this country. What we need is a plan that is based on comparative advantage, one that aligns the efforts and resources of all levels of government as well as the private sector, a plan that also respects the rights and the interests of Indigenous peoples. Such a plan must be thoughtful, collaborative, and ambitious. It must aim to create wealth and good jobs in every region of this country, while ensuring that we achieve our ambitious and our necessary climate goals. Certainly, the regional energy and resource tables, which I launched here in Vancouver about 6 months ago, are a critical process through which such regional plans and an overarching national plan will be developed. These tables seek to identify the most significant areas of economic opportunity in each province and territory, and then to align regulations and permitting processes and bringing to bear the financial resources of both federal and provincial governments to spur growth and create jobs in areas of shared priority in every region of Canada. The result aims to be economic plans at the regional level for the creation of good, well-paying jobs and economic growth. There are now regional tables established in 9 provinces and territories, and work is currently underway to set up tables in the remaining jurisdictions. While the outcomes of those tables are truly intended to be the product of collaboration, and therefore I will not prejudge the ongoing work, there is one thing I think we can all agree on at the outset, which is clean technology must and will be part of the net zero future in Canada and around the world. While technology itself is not a climate plan, any plan that does not include thoughtful consideration of how to develop and how to deploy critical clean technologies is not a serious climate plan. And certainly the federal government has a significant role to play in bringing those technologies to market. And critical to many of these technologies are the raw materials that will enable them, very much including critical minerals. Simply put, there is no energy transition without critical minerals. Pour faire simple, il n'y a pas de transition énergétique sans minéraux critiques. Ils sont les éléments constitutifs de l'économie verte et numérique. Sans minéraux critiques, il n'y a pas de batteries, pas de voitures électriques, pas d'éoliennes, et pas de panneaux solaires. The sun provides the raw energy, but electricity flows through copper. Wind turbines need manganese, platinum, and rare earth magnets. Nuclear power requires uranium. Electric vehicles require batteries made with lithium, cobalt, and nickel, and magnets. Indium and tellurium are integral to solar panel manufacturing. That is why the World Bank forecasts a 500% increase in demand for these elements by 2050, production of minerals like graphite, lithium, and cobalt just to feed the clean energy transition to batteries. Meanwhile, against the backdrop of this skyrocketing demand, emerging geopolitical dynamics are creating other challenges. Western countries are increasingly concerned about being dependent on a small number of non-democratic jurisdictions for critical mineral supply and processing. Canada's European allies have recently experienced the consequences of dependence upon non-like-minded countries for strategic commodities like oil and gas. There is a strong desire to avoid recreating these kinds of vulnerabilities in emerging markets such as critical minerals. It is in this context that the exploration, mining, processing, advanced manufacturing, and recycling of critical minerals represents a generational economic opportunity for our country. An opportunity not limited solely to the extraction of resources, but to the processing and refining, to battery production, and the production of finished goods such as electric vehicles. Indeed, somewhat uniquely, this opportunity exists in every region of this country, from coast to coast to coast, and everywhere in between. As the federal government positions Canada to be a clean energy and technology supplier of choice in a low-carbon future, our reserves of critical minerals, combined with the expertise of Canadian workers and businesses in mining, are central to future success in this space. Fortunately, we are starting from a position of strength. Canada is already a global mining leader. We are home to almost half of the world's publicly listed mining and mineral exploration companies, with a presence in more than 100 countries and a combined market capitalization of $520 billion. We are already a top global producer of many critical minerals. We're the world's top producer for potash, second for uranium, fourth for titanium, aluminum, and platinum, and sixth for cobalt and nickel. Canada is also a world leader in ESG standards and practices, with Canadian industry advancing important initiatives such as the Mining Association of Canada's Towards Sustainable Mining program. Over the past number of years, this government has worked aggressively to build on these advantages. We have established an evergreen list of 31 minerals we deem to be critical, with a particular focus on a subset of 6. These 6 include lithium, graphite, nickel, cobalt, copper, and rare earth elements. These were selected based on the size of the resource available in Canada, their necessity as inputs for priority domestic supply chains, such as battery and electric vehicles, and for their potential to spur Canadian economic growth. Further, Canada also has a very strong interest in cases where critical minerals are used only partially for domestic manufacturing and domestic consumption, and where there is value to be captured through domestic refining, coupled with enhanced exports to our allies. Examples of such priority minerals include vanadium, gallium, titanium, scandium, magnesium, tellurium, zinc, niobium, and germanium, along with potash, uranium, and aluminum. Canada's list of 31 minerals will be reviewed and updated every few years. With respect to financial support, the government has already invested significantly in businesses and workers along the critical minerals value chain and moved swiftly to secure our value chains. This has included investments such as BHP's sustainable potash mine in Saskatchewan and Lion Electric's vehicle assembly plant in Quebec. It actually includes investments that the government has made in Nano One, who is actually here with us today. And it certainly includes some of the recent significant announcements made by my colleague, Minister Champagne, relating to battery manufacturing and electric vehicle production in Canada. On top of all of this, we have recently seen mine approvals of critical minerals. For example, just last week, the federal government approved the Marathon Palladium project in Ontario. These efforts have already resulted in global recognition. Just a few weeks ago, Bloomberg ranked Canada second in its annual global ranking of battery-producing countries, in what was a validation of the tireless work that officials and folks in the industry have been undertaking for some time. But we have much more to do. The Deputy Prime Minister announced historic federal funding of $3.8 billion to accelerate work in the critical mineral space across the country, and that is why we are all here this morning, as I say, on a very good day for Canada. J'ai le plaisir d'annoncer aujourd'hui le gouvernement du Canada publie sa stratégie globale sur les minéraux essentiels. Cette stratégie, appuyée par près de 4 milliards de dollars dans le budget de 2022, indique la voie à suivre pour que le Canada devienne un fournisseur mondial de choix pour les minéraux essentiels et les technologies propres et numériques qu'ils permettent. I would say, just as an aside, the $3.8 billion that was allocated in Budget 2022 was allocated in advance of the finalization of this strategy. I would tell you that is a very unusual thing for any federal government to do, and it reflects the importance that we attach to development in this space. This strategy is the result of extensive consultations that have expressed strong support for our approach today. In fact, the strategy itself hews quite closely to the discussion paper which I launched in June, which I think is a testament to the close collaboration we have undertaken with partners over the past months and years. The strategy identifies a range of activities that will be pursued and underlines key areas to which the federal government will allocate funds. These include $144 million for critical mineral research and development and the deployment of technologies and materials to support critical minerals development for upstream and midstream segments of the value chain, a 30% critical minerals exploration tax for targeted critical minerals, $1.5 billion in the Strategic Infrastructure Fund to support critical minerals projects with prioritization given to advanced manufacturing, processing, and recycling applications, and $1.5 billion for infrastructure development for critical mineral supply chains with a focus on priority deposits. And there is more. La stratégie